as business analyst with a people capability space. Currently, he's working as a product owner within the technology solution space. His career journey has provided him with insights about how to transition into a product owner role via a business analyst path, and he's happy to sharing these insights and practical experience with others. Dana always keeps up to date with the latest technology that can improve people's life by reading and listening to podcasts. Outside work and technology, you will find he has diverse interests. Recently, he is reading and researching Islamic history and finance, as well as engaging in sports such as wall climbing. Now let's welcome Dana that he is sharing. Hand over to you, Dana.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jackie and Ling, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Kia ora. Assalamualaikum. I'm happy to be here. I guess I'm just gonna share my screen now. Cool. Can everyone see my screen at all? Is this the slide that you are looking at? Or is it the Teams?
Yeah,
I can see the slides.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so much. Cool. So let's get started. Again, as you have seen, so a little bit about me. Yes, I'm a big fan of technology. On top of that, I just recently also have an interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So if any of you know about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, yeah, shoot me your knowledge. I'd be really keen to know because I'm really new into the space. So yeah, and just to also have a, I guess, explain a bit more on my journey so far. So like Jackie already mentioned, I was working for Xero in the customer experience and customer success space. So when I was at Xero, essentially I was working as a customer experience specialist for the first about 1.5 year. So during this period, I was basically working to troubleshoot, customer issues, and then I'm also working with the product team, reporting bugs on and basically making a better process on how we can escalate things and issues to product team by like how to provide a better documentation, like what is currently happening, what the product should supposed to be working. So clear documentation on their side, so we don't really have to go back and forth with the product team as much. And then on the second part, after 1.5 years working as a customer experience specialist, I was working as a customer success. I was in the customer success space where I was a community specialist. So basically in this role, I was managing two different platform, which is Xero Product Ideas and Xero Discussion. So alongside this, when I was working on that space, I was working alongside the product owners to kind of provide them an insights on what is actually happening on the space. And then from there, they can make a decision on what kind of product they should be developing or what are the issues with the latest releases. And then what are the usual defects that is annoying to our customers. So that's, and then also like helping them whenever they launch a product. I also usually having an input on how we can create a comms for the public. So then, yeah, just to promote what we've deployed into the world. And then after that, I was working for the Department of Corrections. I was working as a business analyst. So my main stakeholders when I was at corrections was HR and payroll. So improving their process and also improving the systems as well. And then now I am working in the Department of Conservation as a product owner. The two products that I'm looking after, one is the workflow for official information requests. So if any of you don't know, so essentially public can submit a questions to the government department, and then depending on what type of the question, so all those questions will be kept. Those are who directed to the Department of Conservation will be managed by the system that I'm looking after. And then the second one is, which I just recently being assigned, was one of the booking system in the Department of Conservation that I'm looking after. So moving on. So overview. So this is what I'm going to discuss today. So really a product owner definition, and then a typical product owner role and their position in an organization. And then after that, business analyst and their relationship with product owners. And then after that, I'm gonna speak about upskilling tips on becoming a product owner. And then after that, I can answer any questions that you have from Slido. So moving on, so what is a product owner? The way I describe it, really, it's a person who oversees a strategic decision and development for a product that they're assigned to. But depending on who you're talking in the industry, sometimes people who are working in the private, they don't call themselves a product owner. They call themselves a product manager, because usually in some organization they'll have a hierarchy where there are a bunch of product managers, and then the product managers will report to the group product manager, who will be overseeing a different kind of product portfolios. And then, but in my case, I report to the team lead of product and platform. So there are a bunch of product owners in my team. So again, sometimes in some organization, I remember when I was at Xero, they call themselves product owners, and then the product owners will report to the product manager. So really depends who you're talking to, because sometimes product owner and product manager responsibility are the same. So, but this is how I defined a product owner. So next, what a product owner usually does. Sorry, there's a black screen there, but yeah. So usually what I do, I work with the business to create the vision of the product. And then I am also creating a roadmap to be presented to the higher ups, which is in my case is my bosses, and also like the bosses of the business owners. And then I also adapting to the demand of the end users. So not just stakeholders or business stakeholders, usually in a government, in some government department, they call themselves a product owner, but they're actually a business owner. So I'm also looking into who actually using the product. So those are the end users, because sometimes if you're looking into the HR system, yes, the owner, the business owners of the HR system would probably the director of the HR person, but then the end users were actually like the HR admin or the payroll admin, that kind of people. So I adapt to the demand of the end users as well. And then the fourth one is balancing act between business stakeholders' demand, end users' demands, and also technical debt. So I will explain more about technical debt after this, but essentially, sometimes the business owner who has the money will ask me to hey, we should be, developing this kind of feature, and then the end users will venting to me about, hey, this particular process in the system is really frustrating me. But then on the other end, there'll be a software engineer who will say, hey, by the way, if we develop these features that were asked by our stakeholders, this will create a defect in the future, which could be something in the future that may hinder us to develop, a new feature. And then the fifth one is definitely prioritize development plan. So these are what I usually do as a product owner. So moving on, So where does a product owner usually sit in an organization? A typical product owner usually sits in the Scrum or Agile team. So they usually sit with a tester. They usually sit with engineers, and they usually sit with the BA. Sometimes they don't, because that depends on the type of the organization. But bear in mind, I know that not all organization applying a product management depending on the stage where they are at the moment. So in some organization, and the government agencies, they might call themselves, like a product owner, but they don't really want to be in the agile ceremonies, or they don't really want to be involved in the sprint. In my opinion, product owners should definitely be sitting in the daily stand-up. They have to be sitting in the backlog refinement. They should be sitting with during the demo as well. So because they need to make an active decisions, ultimately the ones that decides which one to develop is also the product owner. Even though sometimes I get challenged by my boss or by the business owners, why do I not develop these features, or why do I not fixing these defects? But ultimately, they have to make an active decisions. That's why they need to be sitting in an agile team to make those decisions happen. So just to compare on with the BA role. So when I was a BA, as you may already, guess I know that some of you is a BA. Usually I was identifying process inefficiencies. I gather the requirements from stakeholders, creating all necessary documentations, leading or assisting workshop with stakeholders, and converting data into actionable insights. But again, don't get me wrong. In some of areas of the product owners ownership that I am that I have at the moment, I don't have a BA, so I still need to perform these tasks. So sometimes a product owner is a BA with the steroid. So they make decisions, they create a roadmap, they also trying to find the process maps, and then they create all the documentations as well, and they also need to do workshops or user testing when the feature is developed, or when the feature is currently on a beta, or on the just roll out to a couple of users. And then they also need to like I also need to do looking at the data on what are the features that I need to decide to develop. So yeah, so this is what I usually do in one of my product that I'm taking care of. So because on the other end, because I also managed to get some BAs on the work, which is from the business team. So relationship between business analyst and product owner, this is what I really like when I have a BA on my team, on my Scrum team. So business analysts aid a product owner's decisions, because they providing insights, they provide process maps, they provide also requirements, and then they also help me doing the workshop and converting that workshop results into a really good data sets. And then they also capture users' needs in the product that they're using, because because BA gathers the requirement, helping identifying the process inefficiencies, and then workshop. Even in an agile settings, they often help product owners in writing user stories, and liaise with software engineers as well, whether if there's a user stories being written on Jira or whatever the board that you're using, they'll ask the engineers to do whether this is possible, whether this is not possible, whether will create a huge technical debt. So that's usually the relationship between BA and a product owner, if the Scrum team has a BA. So what is expected as a from a business analyst by the product owner? So I really appreciate when the requirements are clearly identified. So the must-have, the should-haves, the nice-to-haves are clearly defined, because I have come across with the document requirements and everything is a must. Well, if everything is a must, then you don't have a priority. So that's not something that is ideal, because it's really hard to determine what we should be developing. But I usually will work it out with them. If that's the case, then well, it doesn't happen to me. It happens to my peers. But if when it does happen to me, for example, they'll have another conversation, and they'll start to have another exercise on which one is more pressing, by doing a workshop with the stakeholders. That's what that's what usually do. And then also helps to determine a minimum viable product. When we have a good must, when we have a good should, when we have a nice to have lists, then it will help determine a minimum viable product. Because when determining a minimum viable product, because we start to look at how we frame the problem, because we get into a problem statement or a symptoms, right? And then when we get that symptoms, we start to see who has the problem. Is it just the leadership that has the problem, or is it one of our end users? Or is it end users that has a problem? And if it's the end users that has the problem, then which end users that impacted the most by these problems? And then we start to look at the process maps, the current process maps, or what they're doing, how much time that they consumed, and all that. And then from there, they will start to have like which process is having the biggest pain points from there. And then after that, we start to look into the available solutions that that is available to us, whether it could be a system, or maybe a training, or yeah, what kind of enhancement. Because sometimes, even in my case, the example that I have is, even though I look after the OIA workflow, sometimes my solutions will be, I'll have to create an automation with Microsoft Power Automate. So it's because it's not available in the product that I currently have. So I have to work. That's another solution that I could explore. And then once we have that, then it will start to determine the MVP, because we have the solutions. This is what we can develop, and these are the problems that we can solve. So those are the minimum viable, how we can determine the minimum viable product. But then again, it's kind of links between the requirements documents, right? And then the third one is understanding the continuity of the product would be a really good to have, because here's the thing. I think it's just kind of like me being well, not really venting, but how do I say it? So basically, sometimes from what I've seen is that when we implement a new system, like it's a project-based team, right? So when the project teams try to deliver something, you basically try to like tick off the boxes. These are the requirements. We want to get everything that is in the requirement. We want to satisfy the stakeholders, right? If that happens, sometimes, well, usually when that happens, usually project team doesn't really, or the BA doesn't really think about how the product is being built. So sometimes I give you an example of say like with a product like software as a service, like ServiceNow or Salesforce, some feature needs to be created custom. The developers or the engineer needs to customize it, needs to customize the feature, so they need to hard code it. So for example, they will need to put on more codes to create a field that's not available. But then because of that, the next upgrade of that platform will have a functionality that can, you don't have to code it. You just have to enable that feature and then it will create the field. So because of that, that will create a technical debt, right? So that needs to be something that needs to be documented properly. So then I think to make sure for a BA in a project team to have that particular knowledge will be a really great to have, because when it's handed over to the product team or the BAU team, we have a good documentation and we have a good visibility on the technical debt, and we have a good visibility of the what we need to be develop and what we need to be aware. And also, like as a product owner, I know at least I can keep an eye out with the product roadmap of that particular applications. Say for example, if that feature is available within the next 8 months, then I could start to plan on that sprint to start decommissioning the field, the field that was developed by the developer using a customization, and then I'll start to rebuild it again using the inbuilt applications. Because sometimes when that happens, if we go on an upgrade, that what I just showed, what I just mentioned is when the upgrade is successful. But sometimes those customization could potentially lead to a defect problem. So you'll have an error when you upgrade the system. So that would be a problematic. So I guess as a BA, when getting the requirement, understanding technical bits is really, really great to have. So then the system can still develop a new feature even after the delivery is finished, and even after the system is handing over to the BAU. Because what I currently experiencing right now with the OIA system that I have is that there are so many technical debts. But then how do I what I did was kind of explaining to the business owners to kind of, well, here's our problems, here's what I can develop, but here's what we need to be looked into in the future, because these are the technical debt that we owned, and this needs to be solved one by one. So we have a plan of attack from there. Cool. So lastly, upskill. So how do I become a product owner via business analyst path? Like I mentioned in the beginning, I basically already start to engage with product owners early on when I was working at Xero. And then I start to familiarize myself with the product management or product ownership tools like Moscow, must have, should have, could have, won't have, and the other frameworks that I like is also cost of delays. So I like to see if we don't implement this feature. I want to know like how much time or effort or cost that the organization needs to pay. So that was one of my favorite frameworks, cost of delays. And then actively listen to your engineers and users. if you, once you're involved in an agile space settings, because usually product owners are sitting on that space. So yeah, actively listen to your engineers and end users will be really good, will be really important. Again, like you have to listen to your end users, right? Because they're ultimately your customers. They're ultimately the person who's using the product. But then at the same time, you have to also listen to your engineers, because you need to be aware of the defect that might potentially have appear, or that might potentially need to be addressed in a future iteration. So if you're listening too much to your end users, then you're gonna create a lot of defects, a lot of like technical debts, but so it's not really healthy for your system. But then at the same time, if you are listening to your you're too cautious with your technical debt, then you're not going to deliver anything. So there has to be a bit of balance, right? With that. And then I also, networking with the product owner or product managers from different industries. I still do to just get an insights from different people. And then keep learning from a wide range of sources. I personally will listen to a podcast. The thing that I listened was a product journeys, and which co-founded by Xero, and then I watch videos by Marty Kagan, usually just to get an insights from him, and then the other thing that my boss mentioned was try to get certification. I myself take a certification from Collab Cohorts, and I just learned product management fundamentals from there. And then there are IC Agile. So if you're really interested in like product ownership space, I think a certification will get more knowledge for you, but also at the same time, it shows hiring manager and employers that you're keen on being a product owners. And then the other thing I think that was really from my journey, I think it's really personally it's been really not really difficult, but it's really challenging to be a product owner, because I've been chasing product owner position since I was working in customer experience specialist at Xero. But then I understand why, because to be a product owner, you will be needing to make a decisions, and because you'll be creating a roadmap and you'll be questioned by a lot of people. So yeah, I think my challenge is to convince the hiring manager that I'm the right person to do the job. But yeah, keep involved in agile space settings, learn from different sources, learn product management tools, and also video podcast certification be good. I think that's about it. So I'm just gonna open the Q&A. And if any of you would like to connect with me in LinkedIn, just search Dana Abiyoga. I'll be there. And yeah, cool. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you for your sharing, Dana. Okay, let's jump into the Q&A session now. Could you stop sharing and then, yeah, I'm going to share on my side for the Slido page. Okay. Is sharing working? Is everyone can see my screen?
It's still
Sorry, it's still
blinking.
dark. Sorry.
Oh,
Oh, there you
it's
go.
coming up now. Nice.
Yeah.
Wait, awesome. Okay, we've got quite a lot of questions. Let's answer the first top rating question. I was a product owner for 2 years and 7 months. Currently working as a BA. I'm getting rejection mentioning that I have less product owner experience. Any suggestions, please?
Okay. I this is the same questions that I have over the years, but I will always ask for a feedback. If I have less experience, when they said I have less experience, then I would ask why, and also what part that I need to learn. Is there any product management frameworks that I need to learn? Are there any resources that I need to look at? But yeah, asking for feedback is really, really important. I don't know if that answers your questions, but yeah, that's what I did in the past. Because when I was working as a community specialist, that's what I get as well. Or you don't have an PO experience, well, or you don't have, you don't know how to do this, or you don't know how to do that, you don't know how to do a product ownership role. So yeah, that's what I did. I just keep on asking and just keep banging the door on product owner. I'm just being stubborn.
All right. Thank you for the answer. Yeah, just keep doing. Let's keep the hope there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question. What cross skills of the business analysts and the new skills need to be developed and built to become a product owner? What do you think?
The cross skills, there are so many. I think you're on the right track though. If you're a business analyst, you're on the right track, definitely. But if you're a BA, not in an agile space, then I would recommend you to be in an agile space, because usually a more mature organization of that applying product management frameworks, usually they are being agile. So go for an agile, and then also start learning about agile ceremonies like daily stand-ups, and then retro session, demo, and then the other thing that I learned as a BA for the cross skills are definitely, you're on the right track, because everything that the BA has, like identifying process inefficiencies, writing a user stories. If you're already in an agile space, that is already a cross skills. You're already there, and then converting data into actionable insights for your current product owner, or even your current current business owners. So from there, I think the other skills that you need to develop to become a product owner really is to, if there is any a roadmap creation session, probably great to be involved in that space, because the difference, the biggest difference between product owners and business analysts usually lies in terms of creation of the product, in the roadmaps, the creation of roadmaps. So if you can, aid that decisions, I think you're going to be there. And also, yeah, just maybe at the same time, maybe I think it'll be good to also taking charge if there's multiple epics, start in charge in specific epics, and then you can make a decisions on what should be developed within those epics, and that will be good skills to have, because that's decision making kind of role, right? Because you own that epic. Hopefully that answers your questions.
Awesome, thank you. And I think you kind of touch a little bit for this next question. So what is the biggest change between being a traditional BA and a product owner? What would you say were the biggest challenge?
Traditional BA, well, again, because usually product owner sits in an agile space, right? But BA can sit in data space, and BA can sit in very, very waterfall ways of working. I'm not saying that waterfall is bad, but like if you really want to become a product owner in terms of software and all that, but yeah, I think the biggest challenge is the environment that you're working in. So I think if you want to be a product owner, try to probably become a BA on that agile space settings. That will be a good start.
Okay, agile space. Yeah, got it. So next question. What other techniques have you used to create your product vision or define your product strategy? How did you gain the confidence in this space from a BA to a product owner?
I think I'll touch on a little bit about this. To create a product vision and define the product strategy, I think what I did in the first like I think about 2 months when I was assigned for an OIA product, what I did was I'll start to try to understand why do we use the product, because understanding the why we use it is really important as a product owner. And then I shadow people on how the end users, how they use it, and the business owners, how they use it, and the leadership, if there are any. Well, in my case, there are. Well, definitely leadership uses it. So I just ask them when they get a request from on OIA, I shadow them. So that's how the first step. And then the second step, once I know why, I know the why, I know the how, and then I start to have a session with the business owners on you know the what's that called, a session with like a workshop, sorry, a workshop session with them. And then that's another technique that I have. Again, as a BA, I did that. So again, another cross skills, right? So that's another technique that I have. And then from there, I started to dive into my own systems. What are the current problems? How what are the technical debts that we have? And then from there, I started to okay, these are the most problematic um, um, problematic things that we have at the moment. And I started to create a roadmap with the business owners, and then try to get everything lined up between my bosses, my business owners, to be agreed on. And then I started to communicate that with the end users as well, in terms of this is what I'm going to develop first, so they understand if they don't get that part that yet. So but then again, why again, because this is why product owners need to be sit in agile, because sometimes priorities change. So yeah, I guess how did I gain confidence in the space from a BA to a PO? Yeah, I think being able to make a decisions on one epic when I was a BA gain confidence, because I take on specific epics, and then I can get to say, I think this is what we need to develop. That's how I gain the confidence. Hopefully that answers the questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's jump to the next question. So basically I feel like we already quite said a lot of information about this question, but do you have any supplementary information you want to add on, Dana, for what's core skills that's difference between BA and PO?
I think it's more around like in a nutshell, it's definitely a decision making. So yeah, I think that's all I can say. Yeah.
Cool. So it's a question. What does your co-workers comment misconceptions about your role? For example, they ask transform existing products into brand new ones by waving a magic wand.
Um, that I'm an engineer, that I can solve every problems, but I actually don't. They think, oh yeah, you're very technical. Because sometimes I do develop some of the feature in Power Automate, or like one of the Power Platform like Microsoft Form and all that, just because I can, and it's a low code based environment. but then sometimes I have to ask, because at the moment with my peers, I also team up with Microsoft experts as well. So I have to ask them. But yeah, I think the misconception, I think in my current role, in my current organization, is that I'm not an engineer. I need to ask my engineers as well often whether this can be developed or not. So yeah, so yeah, that's so yeah, that's
Okay, cool. Next question. What is, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I was tickled the wrong question. This question jumped. Sorry about the one. If you seen your question lost, could you just put on your question again? So we'll come back to your question later.
cool.
So, yep. So for this question, what do you
Mm.
prioritize for backlogs?
How do I prioritize the backlogs? I do prioritize the backlog in terms of, because at the moment I'm trying to convince that some of the business, part of the business, that agile works. So I try to get what are the quick wins. That's the first things. And then I also try to see if there is any defect that needs to be solved, like really painful one that costs either the end users or the business stakeholders quite pain from their side. And also sometimes, like, if there is any, like, for example, with the OIA stuff, if there is any, like, regulations change that we need to kind of change the SLA request, to be able to change it from, like, so the person needs to answer the the questions within, like, from 10 days to 5 days. So then I have to change the logic of the systems and asking the engineers to prioritize these ones. So yeah, again, as a product owner, it's really important to make an active decisions on that. But generally, I would go for a quick wins, and then I would start to, if the story or the problem is too big, then I will start to chop it. And then I'm not going to release it straight away. I usually just start to kind of like, hey, this is what we've built so far. You happy with it? Cool. Continue on doing the next bit, that kind of stuff. So that's how I prioritize the backlogs, really. Yeah.
Yep, awesome. Thank you. And the next question is, see some organizations are moving away from having a BA in their product team, such as Xero. Do you think PO can cover the work from both roles?
Oh yeah, totally. But it will be really hard, because I know that at least when I was working there, some pod or like some product owners don't even have a BA, so they have to gather all the requirements. They even have to do customer interviews, and they even, well, if they can't do it, sometimes the engineers are the ones that create the user stories. So yes, in a sense, do you think PO can cover the work for both roles? Yes, I think you can, but it's just really a lot of work. Because on the other product that I have, I am also a BA in a sense. So I doing interviews. So I don't get any help. So on that space, on the booking system. So yeah, that's what I do. Sorry, that's what my answer is. Sorry.
That sounds really tough to be a people to cover the both area.
Yeah, like I said, it's a BA in a steroid, right? So you also need to make decisions on top of that work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So the next question is, a common problem I often see from a lot of Scrum teams is that they have a huge backlog. Do you think often do backlog cleaning or just keep adding things to it?
I do I do clean up the backlog as well. I like to make it tidy. But I usually I usually do it. Well, in my current role, I did it every end of month. See if there's any like requests that are kind of like similar, or I see if the request can be achievable and a quick wins, and I can put it into the next sprint. Then I'll do it. Because yeah, because I also have a legacy of the backlogs, right? So that's what I usually do. So yeah, making it clean is a really good thing, but adding things to it, I think yeah, some people will just keep adding things to it, but I'm the person that likes to clean it up. I don't like to be tidy, but in reality, people just keep adding things to the backlog, right? It's a wish list. So yeah.
Okay. So the next question, what kind of knowledge or requirements are needed to become a business analyst?
Okay, I don't know. Some requirements I needed to become a business. No, I needed to become business analyst. Oh, yeah. I think definitely familiarize yourself as, or if it was to become a BA, then definitely know like process maps, and then how to like BA techniques, like creating a process maps, creating like current state process, future state process, 5 whys, and then knowing how to create um, gather the data into an insights. That would be a good thing. And if you are more into like technical, then try to learn things like Power BI, or try learn things from like Tableau, um, um, data visualization tool. That would be great to be a business analyst. But yeah, knowing process maps, I think I like process maps. So yeah, I think that's my answer.
Oh, thank you. This is a very quite general question because there's a lot of different BAs, I
Yeah,
guess. So
yeah,
it depends on what type of BA you were looking for.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. So, yeah, next question. Do you think that as a product owner, your job description is the same as a product manager?
Oh, is it project manager? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I think as a product owner description, sometimes they overlap, but the thing about product owners, they usually do a continuous improvement, whereas project have a start and finish dates. So I think that will be a key difference. Um, like I mentioned before, with a project space, like a delivery space, I'm not like, it's not a bad thing, but like it's a good thing they have a checklist that this needs to be done, because project has to be done. These are the checklists they need to go through, and making sure that they're ticked off. Whereas like I think with a product manager or product owner, they're not only looking into the checklist, but also the balancing act that I mentioned before. So yeah, they overlap because they talk to the stakeholders. They make decisions, because project managers does make decisions, right? But yeah, it's kind of like um, product managers will have the vision of the product, and then the project, like it's kind of like how I define it. It's more around, product manager is the designer of the house, and then the project manager will be the engineers. So they are the ones that usually in the first phase, or if the system is implemented, they are the ones that make things happen. Yeah, but when it transitions to the BAU, then it's a different story. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And next question is, how do you draw the line between the responsibility of the BA in your team and yourself as a product owner?
How do I draw the line between responsibilities? Oh, um, I think how do I draw the line with my current OIA? I think it's when they go to me, and then they provide the requirements, is really if I, it's really tough questions because sometimes I do delegate some of the things in terms of like decisions on their sides as well. So the main thing I think is to when I draw the line is to make the final decisions usually on them in terms of, oh, these are what we need to be developed first. Even though like your argument is valid, but yeah, sometimes I'm really happy to be challenged as well by the BAs in that space. So I guess the line sometimes is blurred because sometimes because they are the ones that does the interview, and then sometimes they are the ones that you know, create was that taking care of that epic. I trust them in developing that. So yeah, sorry, I don't know if the answer to this question. So yeah.
That's a tough question, but I'm just cautioned about our time, so it's now we're not gonna have to wrap up now, everyone. But thank you so much for participating with us with these excellent questions. But you still can ask a question by connecting Dana on LinkedIn. I'm sure he will be very happy to answering all of those questions. But yeah, I guess it's a time to say goodbye for today's session. But thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have learned something from here, and we're looking forward to see your